Hey, y'all, and welcome back to another Southern Fried. Thank y'all for joining us this week to hear about what makes the South so special. I think we've had some great episodes so far, and I'm excited to continue to keep the ball rolling. But today, I'm really pumped to welcome in our guest because I think she has a love for her home state of Alabama, maybe as much as I do, which if you know a lot of people, I think that's hard to rival. So from appearing on Season 8 of Food Network Star to writing many recipe and cookbooks, and being known as an incredible host, our guest today knows all about Southern hospitality, so I hope I can make my mama proud and show some of that hospitality right back as we welcome Martie Duncan to the show. Welcome to Southern Fried, Martie.
Hey, Charlie, thank you so much. Yeah, people like us, people who are from Alabama, I think that's one reason I write books about Alabama is because when you're from here, or even if you've moved away, you still have a really warm, affectionate spot in your heart for all things Alabama.
Absolutely. Hey, as we're recording this, it's Halloween Day.
It sure is.
I want to know.
And I look like it too. I've got my, I went ahead and put my scary face on for you.
Do you have any Halloween party tips?
Gosh, sure. First thing, you mean like if you're having a party at your house?
If I'm throwing, forget the trick-or-treaters.
Okay.
People are coming over, yeah.
Okay, so, yeah, get everything ready, like, way early because some people are just gonna show up early, so
Yeah.
you don't wanna be scrambling at the last minute. Make sure you've got your drinks iced down and plenty of extra ice, and then clean ice. Okay, I'm a freak. I'm sorry.
This is good.
I used to be the ambassador for food safety for the USDA and the FDA. So I'm a bit of a nut job about clean ice. Like,
Yeah.
I can't stand it when somebody like, do you want a drink? And then they go to the cooler where the beverages have been chilling and people have had their hands
Yeah.
and then they give me a drink with ice from that. So have a container of clean ice. Let's see what
I've never
else.
thought about that. I've never once.
Well, because you're a boy. I'm sorry.
That's
I mean,
true.
y'all don't care, and I guess y'all are just don't get things. I don't know.
Well, do you buy bagged ice? Like, is gas
Yes.
station ice fine?
Yeah.
Okay.
Except that if it's drink ice, I like the good ice, like
Yeah.
the good ice. So I like to go to Sonic and get a big bag of ice, and they give you
sell
that.
their ice?
Yeah, that pellet ice,
Oh,
they
that's
sell it
good.
in a
That's
bag.
good.
You can just
That's-
go through the drive-thru and and get it. And I keep some of that, but when you're making a cocktail, the good ice is important.
Sure. Um, I like to start every podcast. I think it's important for the listeners to kind of know a little bit about who we're talking to each day.
Okay.
And I think probably as you know, there's something about like where you're from that means something to you. You've already talked about that, right? As Alabama. But can you tell us, we know you're from Alabama, but can you narrow it down a little bit and tell us really where are you from?
Yeah, I'm from Birmingham. I grew up in the eastern side of Birmingham in the Roebuck and Eastlake neighborhood.
Okay.
And I went to Banks High School, which does not exist anymore. They've torn it down, but it was infamous in its day because it had a big jet sitting up on top of the building. It was the Navy loaned the school. I think it was in 1961. How do I know that fact? That's crazy. I think the Navy loaned this jet to the school because the mascot was the Jets.
Okay.
And they parked it on top of the roof, and it was kind of a big thing. But there was a movie made not that long ago. The Irwin brothers made a movie called Woodlawn that focused on the faith-based community and the sort of, I would say, spiritual revival that was happening in schools in Birmingham at that time, and their father was a big part of that. Sort of think about Charlie Kirk, but many, decades ago. And the athletes had a Fellowship of Christian Athletes. Anyway, the big thing about Banks was the Banks Woodlawn game in what year was that? 73 or 4, something like that, was I think still to this day, the largest attendance at any high school football game. And I was at that game.
Like
And
ever? Like nationwide?
Like ever even, no, in Alabama.
Alabama? That's crazy. Legion Field?
Isn't it? At Legion Field, and I was there, and it was just a very big deal. And so then I got asked by the Irwin brothers and the Alabama Film Commission to come be part of a scene that they taped at Legion Field for that movie.
Oh, that's cool.
But anyway, so I mean, a little bit of history from the neighborhood where I'm from, but we have so many, loyal Banks High School people who support me and follow me and help me.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, it's still, even though that school doesn't exist anymore, it is still a real community of people who loved that neighborhood, loved growing up in that time, and they really show up for any of us that have something
Yeah.
going on. So it's great.
You talked about in one of your books hanging out. Oh, you go.
I was just going to say they took that jet down when they when
Good.
they demolished the school, and they took it to the Southern Museum of Flight and they restored it. So anybody's interested, it's there.
Which isn't too far away from where the school was, right?
Not too far.
Yeah.
Not too far.
Um,
Anyway.
you you talked about hanging out at the East Lake Library in one of your books.
I sure did. I lived there. I am the most competitive person, and if anybody that knows me is listening to this, quit laughing. I am one of the most competitive people that ever existed. And so in the summertime, I would live in that library because they had a reading club. You know, they do it at most libraries
Yeah, like
where
competition.
yeah, so you would get
Oh
a
yeah.
little stamp or a sticker or something for every book you read, and let me tell you, I was gonna read every book in that library to get to win that thing. So, yeah, but I love that library. It's got a beautiful mural in it that has been restored. It had gotten
Okay.
damaged, I think, when the place was closed down during the pandemic, but I think the city restored it, and I haven't been in it to see it. But my church was a block away from the library, and we went to the swimming pool not far from there. And back in that day, you could just walk or ride your bike or whatever.
Yeah.
Listen, we were free range kids. We roamed everywhere. You know, it was a very different time.
No
So
tablets, no video games.
no, nothing.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
mean, no. I mean, we might have a dime to make a telephone call, but certainly that would have been about it. You would have
I
had to beg somebody to come in and use the phone
yeah.
if you needed to call your mama.
As a Birmingham native and having Birmingham people, I do have to. I am from a suburb, but my grandfather was a proud Inslee High grad, so I'm a little
Wow.
partial to Inslee. So
A lot of people are. I mean, especially a lot of old timers, you know,
yeah, yeah.
people like me, a lot of Inslee people around. I have a couple friends who graduated from Inslee in that time period. So,
What so you're from Birmingham. I want to know though what kind of led you into like the cooking world, the food world.
you
Was
know,
it you're
Charlie,
growing up?
yes, for sure.
Yeah.
Okay, so my mother cooked 3 meals a day, every day, and every bit of it scratch made.
Wow.
Until she started working when I was about 13, I think it was. But she made breakfast, lunch, dinner. Everything always had a homemade bread, pretty much not breakfast, but the other had homemade desserts. And I'm
Yeah.
not saying every day would be super fancy or anything like that, but there was always, like, if I had ball practice or scouts or whatever I had, I would come home and there's definitely a home cooked meal on the eye of the stove with the lid from the pot over the top of it, keeping it
Yeah.
warm
Yeah.
for when I got home. So my mom grew up in the children's home in Troy, Alabama, the Alabama Baptist Children's Home. And she and her 3 sisters went there when they were, well, my mother was only 3 years old and she lived there until she was 19, but all the kids had to have a job. So the older sisters had to have a job and they decided they would work in the kitchens. And so my mother and her 2 sisters were very fine cooks. And I was the only girl in the family, so I had to help.
Mm-hmm. So just kind of a growing up
Yes,
around the kitchen and around it all the time.
but weirdly, and I touched upon this when I was on Food Network Star, and they asked me, you know, what was the genesis of me throwing parties and things like that. It was when I was in high school. I threw parties all the time. And I remember asking my mom to have the first one, and she said, you can do it, but you need to clean the house before and after. And I thought,
Uh-huh.
okay. And then she said, and you got to cook whatever you're going to serve, you got to make it. Back in the day, like, I know we had bakeries, and especially now that I've done all the homework and research that I've done, but
Yeah.
we never got any bakery things. Until I was a teenager, I didn't go to a bakery. So my mother said, what are you going to make? And I got out her cookbook and I looked through it and I'm like, okay, I'm going to make this. And it was because I'd heard my father talk about it because he grew up in New York. So he was more accustomed to bakery on every corner. And so he used to tell me about chocolate eclairs. So I thought if I made chocolate eclairs, it would be a successful party. And believe it or not, they turned out. I can't believe they did. Knowing what I know now, I can't believe
That
it.
is hard to believe.
Because, I mean, it requires a pat a choux dough. and not hard, but just, temperamental. And then
Yeah.
you have to make a pastry cream, and then you have to do the ganache for the top of it. And it's a long, multiple step process. And I can't believe I actually did it. But anyway, I would throw parties, and I used to. Okay, so I was a police officer for the city of Birmingham and I used to throw
Wow.
parties for all my police officer friends too. And I would say, don't bring anything. I'll do all the food. I don't know why I did that. Just something I always did, Charlie. So then I moved to Chicago, and okay, now this is going to blow your mind. Sometimes I can't even believe, I don't even know how this happened. But anyway, so I started playing polo. The sport with a
On a
horse.
horse?
Yeah, on a horse. And I had wanted a horse my whole life. I begged my daddy for a horse every day. I would write these long love letters about how much I would love this horse and take care of it. And I would walk dogs or something to pay for it. I don't
Yeah.
know, but I begged him for a horse. And do you think I ever got one? No.
No.
But anyway, God shows up sometimes in the most unusual places and sent me this opportunity to play polo. I had done a charity event for the American Diabetes Association, and they said, will you help us with this? It's our biggest fundraiser. And I said, well, what is it? And they said, well, it's a polo match. And my question was, well, do we go to England? I mean, I didn't know they had polo in Alabama. Had no clue. So, but the next thing you know, one of the guys and his wife gave me 2 horses. Said, we think you'd be great for the sport of polo. We think, you could help us do a good job with our charity tournament.
Yeah.
And so we want you to play. So they gave me 2 horses. And I'm like, and I I just became immersed in it.
Yeah.
And Charlie, since that time, that was before you were born, in the 90s, I have traveled all over this world and played polo. So anyway, when I moved to Chicago in the 90s, they asked me if I would join their polo club. And I said, well, I would love to, but I don't have the 10 grand a season
Yeah.
for the dues. And they said, well, if you'll throw parties for us, we heard you like to throw parties. If
Oh
you'll
my
throw
gosh.
parties for us, we'll give you the dues for free. So I did that for quite a few years, and I would throw themed parties. We would have a chili cook-off, an Italian night. We would have an Argentine asado. We would do all these, and people still talk about those parties because there were some epic, epic, epic nights, I gotta tell you.
This is incredible.
So much fun. But yeah, so I'll tell you a quick story. When I was talking to the committee about the parties I would throw,
Yeah.
and they're all Chicago guys, and I said, well, okay, so I was thinking for the first one, maybe we would have a hurricane party. And they just sort of looked at me like, what's that mean? I'm like, okay, so it really easy. Like I'll get a wheelbarrow, and we'll put all the beer and some ice in the wheelbarrow, and then I'll do, like a shrimp boil and boiled shrimp. And they looked at me like, and I just kept going about all the things that we
Yeah.
could do to make it fun. And I said, yeah, we make some hurricane cocktails, and and they're like, okay, just roll back just a minute. What is a bald shrimp? I said, what? They're like, what's a bald shrimp? I said, what do you mean? And they're like, you said you're going to serve bald shrimp. I said, you mean boiled. Boiled. That's how they say it, boiled. I'm like, oh, boiled shrimp. And they're like, we don't think that sounds very good. I'm like,
They don't
no.
know. They
Well,
don't
they
know.
didn't know what they thought I meant hairless shrimp. So anyway, but that was, but yeah, so forever I've done that. And then all of a sudden I got a phone call from some people at Microsoft who heard about me from a friend, and they said, we're going to start some online content. This was
Yeah.
in the early 2000s, probably still before you were born. And they're like, would you help us with the entertaining content? And
Sure.
when I started doing the entertaining content, it became very clear to me that people were more interested in the recipes than anything else. So
Okay.
that's when I started developing recipes. And because I would do these beautiful displays and these big photo shoots. And then the first question, where are the recipes? Where's
Yeah.
the recipe for that? That's when I started doing that. And then after I was on Food Network Star, Lee Centel from the Alabama Department of Tourism asked me if I would go out on the road for
Okay.
Alabama Restaurant Week. And he said, just do as many as you can. And he told me later, he said, I thought you'd do maybe 20. Well, I did 80.
Oh
I
my
went to
gosh.
80 places in a week. And he's like, later on, he wrote me a nice little recommendation. He says, look, if you're going to do something with this girl, you better hold on, because she's going to. I just wanted to go to as many as I could. I wanted to
Yeah.
feature as many places as I could.
Yeah.
And so anyway, yeah, 80 restaurants later. And,
Gosh.
whatever, 10 pounds.
Hey, one of your books, you said that somehow you didn't gain much weight on one of your like 4,000 mile.
One time I didn't, but I did 5 books. Come on. I'm still struggling to get it off. I will just say this about weight loss over the age of 50 is almost impossible. So I wish I had known that more when I was doing that. I might have skipped instead of doing 10 dishes per restaurant, because sometimes I would say, we just want this one thing, but they would bring 10 things. And so,
Yeah,
I'm a nice Southern girl. I don't
you
want to
got to
hurt
clean your
anybody's
plate.
feelings.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah. And at our house, you really had to clean your plate because my dad grew up in the Depression. And I'm going to tell you what, you didn't get up if there was something on your plate. You did not. You better not take it if you weren't going to eat it. I had 3 brothers. So luckily,
You could
I,
scrape some off. Yeah. I like a lot of your like going around the South or Alabama really and trying all these restaurants. I like that a lot of your books, they're not just like cookbooks and recipe books, but it's like stories. Like you're sharing who these people are. So do you find that that's a big part of food and of entertaining?
I think it's a big part of me.
Yeah.
I talk a lot. So, yeah, one time, I'll tell you what, one time my daddy told me, he said, "Girl, it's a shame you can't get paid by the word on Charlie. Now I do." I know.
Little did he
Anyway,
know.
yeah, little did any of us
Uh-huh.
know. But
Uh-huh.
anyway, so I like for all the books to be a little bit different. But my goal is to feature our locally owned places. Let's be honest. Applebee's and Chili's and all those places are great because they provide employment, but the food may be not very diverse, let's just, or whatever you want to call it. It is very hard for our locally owned places to get the visibility because you see Applebee's on the TV every night. You
Mhm.
see
Mhm.
the billboards, you hear it on the radio, you hear it on your wherever. And the local places just don't have that kind of funding to have that kind of visibility. Now, luckily, with social media, a lot of them get a lot of presence depending on, but you have to think about it. When you're a locally owned place, sometimes you're not just the owner, you're the chef. You
Yeah.
buy the groceries, you handle the accounting, you pay all the bills, you hire
Yeah.
and fire and have to be on the line cooking if somebody doesn't show up, or you might
Exactly.
be
Yeah.
the cook anyway. So that you've only got 62 hats to wear. So
Yeah.
advertising and marketing is hard for locally owned places. So Director Santel said, let's get out there, let's shine a light, use your little bit of spotlight that you gained nationally from being on Food Network to shine a light on our locally owned places, and let's see if we can educate people about places they may not even know are in their own state. And I will tell you, I learned, like, as I was going around, I would say, well, have you heard of this place? Have you heard of that place? And some of them would be quite famous. And people would say, well, I never heard of that. I've never
Yeah.
been there. Like Highlands Bar and Grill,
Yeah.
one of the most famous places in the country. And I would say to people, well, my favorite for that would be Highlands. And they would go, look at me like I was crazy.
Yeah.
And I'm like, you don't know
How do
Highlands
you
Bar and
not?
Grill? Like, do
Yeah.
you live under a rock? But okay. But I mean, a lot of people just didn't know. And so, anyway, I feel like for me, telling the stories is important. But the most important thing I can do is shine a light on these places and be their voice and their advocate and another vehicle for them to bring attention to what it is that they do. And believe me, it is blood money. I mean, they work so hard, and they have, even the big ones, it's hard work.
Yeah, yeah. I think it's so cool, like our local restaurants. Like I want to go to a Chili's every once in a while because I think
Sure,
it's fun to get the triple
sure,
dipper. But like at the end of the day, like I'd
sure.
rather like my local, pizza spot. That's probably some of the better, pies I'm gonna have around town. And so it's
No
like
doubt.
finding those gems really matters, especially in Alabama where you have so much good food.
Well, Charlie, here's my rule of thumb. When I'm traveling outside the state, then I use those times to go to the chains because I know I have consistency.
Yeah,
You know,
that's a
I
good
know there'll
rule.
be a certain degree of consistency in a place where I don't know anything
Okay.
until I've been there a day or two, and then I'll work my way around to the local places. But I save for the times where I'm traveling on the road or whatever
Yeah.
outside of Alabama, then I hit my chains at that time.
Hey, everybody, real quick, just wanted to jump into this conversation and say a couple things. I hope y'all are enjoying this Southern Fried episode. Marty was fantastic. When we jumped on the call right before we started the interview, I knew this was going to be a fun episode. I really think it is. And so I really hope that y'all are also enjoying it. I want to also tell you this is kind of a monumental episode for Southern Fried because we got our first ad read. Okay, we got our first ad read for Southern Fried. So, guys, things are really looking up. They're really looking up in the direction. I do want to tell you before we get to that ad read, this is not the ad read what I'm about to say, but we'll get to it in just a second. If y'all are enjoying this episode, please go support Martie as well. Okay, I ask you guys all the time to support Southern Fried. Support Martie. Go follow her on Instagram, but definitely go buy one of her books. I had the opportunity to go through like 4 out of 5 of her books. They're all so fun. Her most recent is the Alabama 100 Best Recipes, Restaurants, and Road Trips. So if you love food, if you love the South, and if you love Alabama, this is a great book. It's a great gift. The holiday season's coming up, so maybe you want to get somebody this book for the holiday season, something for Christmas. I think it's a great option. Her books are just so awesome. And I say this in the interview, but it's not just about the food. It's about the people and the stories that make it up. And she really shares that in her writings. So I highly recommend supporting her by following along with her, getting one of her books, and getting somebody her book for this holiday season. And as this holiday season approaches, one thing that's great to start out the holiday season is with some live music. So I want to tell you guys about the Alabama Civic Chorale, who's performing its 78th annual presentation of the Handel's Messiah masterpiece. They're going to do it along with some members of the Alabama Symphony Orchestra on Sunday, November 23rd at 3 p.m. at River Chase United Methodist Church in Hoover, Alabama. The performance is free, but early arrival is recommended to get seating. And it's a wonderful way to begin this Christmas season. Visit www.alabamacivichorale.com for more information. Now let's get back to the show. Okay, well, all right, I'm glad you brought up leaving Alabama. I do want to know, if you had to pick somewhere besides Alabama, maybe besides like Birmingham. I know Birmingham's like what a great food scene we have. But if you had to go somewhere else outside the state for your favorite food scene, where are you going?
Am I driving or flying?
Either the world is your oyster.
Gosh, don't give me that, Charlie. No, this is going to sound funny because a lot of people think that England does not have a good food scene. But I'm here to tell you, they absolutely do. Some of the best food in the world you can find in London and surrounding areas.
Okay.
And the nice thing about it is, like, if you want one of the best curries you've ever had, you get it in London.
But yeah.
Food, I mean, almost any kind of cuisine you can find. I'm a big fan of London's food scene. And not just the Michelin star places, but I mean, you know.
The hole-in-the-wall spots
The
are good,
hole-in-the-wall spots, the pubs. The pub food has gotten so good.
Okay.
And so that, and I don't know.
Now, are you eating English food, or are you just eating like all around the world?
I mean, because it's all right there. I mean, you can get every kind.
One guy, two guys were arguing about who had better food, England or France, and he said, well, London has the most Michelin star restaurants, and he said, well, what kind of food are they serving? He said, it's French, and I think that's funny.
Some,
yeah,
not all, but almost all elite restaurants. And I will say this about even Southern food, Alabama, my mom's kitchen right here where I'm sitting. This house used to be my parents' house before it became my house. But the funny thing is they copied a house that I had built. So I feel like I'm still in my own house.
Same, yeah.
Anyway, I would just say this. A lot of our techniques are steeped in, French cuisine. A lot of the techniques that we use, like to make a roux, that's French.
Yeah.
I mean, we use a roux for macaroni and cheese and just about everything in between. It's a lot of food is steeped in, especially Southern food, steeped in French cuisine.
If you and I are going on a road trip and I won't let you go north of the Mason-Dixon line and we have 3 cities to go to, where are we going for food?
For food. Well, Nashville has a great food scene, and that's close. Charleston has a great food scene. We're not going to Atlanta.
Good.
It's just too much trouble.
Yeah.
Auburn,
really?
Auburn.
Okay.
I mean, I'm assuming we can't go to Birmingham because we're here.
We can't.
Birmingham probably, to me, Birmingham. Okay.
Are you going to New Orleans?
Well, I was about to say, we got to get New Orleans in there too. I was kind of driving east, but okay, we got to go west. So we need a plane, Charlie. We're going to need a plane.
We have to have, yeah.
We're going to need a plane. Yeah, of course, New Orleans is the best food city in America.
Okay.
In America, to me. I think when you go there, it's like you went to another country or something. It is incredibly diverse, but still has that Southern hospitality and Southern roots. And
Yeah.
the thing I like about Louisiana and is it's very different here. Everybody cooks.
Uh-huh.
Everybody cooks. I don't care. You're the mama, the daddy, the granddaddy, the aunt, the uncle, the kids. I don't care. Everybody cooks. And they have their own specialties and their own way of doing things. And
Yeah.
every little region is different. And, they have these great food festivals. And I used to know could rattle a list off the top of my head, but I haven't been to any of them since the pandemic, and that's been a while now. But there are these great food festivals which celebrate, well, crawfish, strawberries, gumbo, of course. I mean,
Yeah.
just everything. And but it's shocking to me. Oh, like that cochon de lait festival with the heritage pigs, and I mean, it's just, I think, one of the most rich food cultures in the world, and
Sure.
it's just a few hours drive.
Yeah.
So we'll start there. We'll
Okay.
start there.
But yeah, at some point, I know you want to go to Birmingham because it's such a great food scene. Can you talk a little bit about what makes Birmingham's food so great?
Well, we got to start with Frank Stitt, don't we?
Yeah.
I mean, he's the godfather. In one of my books, I think I wrote a little something on Magic City mentors, and then I went through all the different chefs and restaurants that had been
Yeah.
influenced by Chef Stitt. And that was I think that book is 10 years old, and there's so many more since then. And I mean, you can start with everything from Big Spoon Creamery, which, is some of the best ice cream you'll ever have
Absolutely.
anywhere. Jerry
Absolutely.
Martha and Ryan O'Hara both worked for Frank. That's where I met them. I met Jerry Martha when I was getting ready to do Food Network Star. I've never worked in a restaurant kitchen. I've never
Wow.
worked in a restaurant. I've
Wow.
never worked in a restaurant. I don't know what made me think I could do that show. Guy was the one who encouraged me to do it. But if you don't know who I'm talking about, I mean Guy Fieri. But anyway, Frank, I went to talk to Frank because I knew him pretty well. And I couldn't tell him what I was doing because it's a multi-million-dollar penalty if you
My
do
God. Really?
tell. Yeah, so I couldn't say what I was doing. And I'm not even sure at that moment Frank even knew I cooked.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
I'm not sure I said I was going to England and I wanted to cook for some friends and there might be some kind of I don't know, I made up this wild, elaborate thing. And he said, well, why don't you come here and shadow some of the chefs? And he
My
took me up
goodness.
yeah, I know. He took me up to Bottega and plopped me
Wow.
down in the kitchen. And he said, just, don't get in the way and write notes. And if you have any questions, they'll help you. Well, I went like I think I got there something like noon, and I was there at midnight. And I
Wow.
came back every day they would let me and made notes and watched and observed and learned. And Jerry Martha was one of the main people who really helped me. And she encouraged me. She was working in the pastry department with Miss Dahl, who won a James Spirit Award for being best pastry chef in the country.
Wow.
But so those two taught me a lot
Yeah.
about how to do things quickly and precisely with a time in mind. And
Yeah.
they taught me a lot of things that I didn't know. So you start with Frank and you think about things like Big Spoon Creamery. You wouldn't think that would start it at a Frank Stitt restaurant, but he encouraged her and helped her with, loaning her equipment until they got going. They started that in their driveway.
Wow.
They would have these after church, they would have these pop-ups where they would sell ice cream in their driveway.
That's
And
incredible.
then I know it went from that, but you have so many chefs here in town that got their start or cut their teeth at a Frank Stitt restaurant.
Yeah.
So I think that when you think about it and you start looking at the list of all of our amazing restaurants, everything from like La Fresca downtown, Marco waited on me at Highlands and at Bottega for 20 years.
Wow.
I mean, and at Chez Fonfon, I mean, for 20 years. And now he's got his own place that he and his brother run, and it's authentic Italian. And then you've got just so many others. And so I think, yeah, you start with Frank Stitt, and then, the ball just keeps rolling. There's just so many restaurants and chefs and places and people who are influenced by him. And some people who just came here because of him and
Yeah.
wanted to train with him. So, and it's not just in Alabama. These people have gone everywhere, but you've got
Everywhere.
like in Auburn and all over. I mean, you've got so many, like Florence, Odette. You've got so many places.
I think it's hard for me to ask you, like, what are your favorite restaurants in Birmingham? I think that's maybe kind of, unfair.
It's not hard. It's not hard.
It's not hard. You can go. Like, if
Okay.
somebody's coming from in town and you're going to take them out, like, where you're taking them.
We're going to Chez Fonfon.
Number one.
Number one for me. I mean, I love so many places here, but I will tell you, Chez Fonfon started I think I was one of the first people that walked in the door there, and you will find me there a lot. I mean,
Okay.
I feel almost like Norm in Cheers. You probably don't know what that is. Do you
I
know?
know Cheers. I
Norm!
know Cheers. Yeah.
Okay, well, you're a little young for Cheers, but all right. I feel like that because a lot of times I'll even go by myself and sit at the bar,
Huh?
and because
Very Norm.
it's just one of those places where you feel comfortable. But I don't know, sitting there, whether you're inside or on the patio, or on Fridays before the pandemic, that patio used to be a bocce ball court. And so some of my girlfriends and I would get the big charcuterie, and they had
Huh?
charcuterie and I mean a real charcuterie. I'm not talking about meat and cheese. I'm talking about a real cured meat charcuterie, and we would sit out in the back and order the charcuterie and bottles of
Yeah.
champagne and play bocce ball and feel like we had, ruled the world. And
Yeah.
then the church across the street is, I think it's a Methodist church, but I think is it Highlands Methodist? I think it is.
Yeah.
The church bells start going, and then you've got trees all around within the it just seems like you've gone somewhere.
Yeah.
And I know the extreme care that the staff puts into every single dish, and what's shocking to me is the size of that kitchen. Have you ever noticed? Do you ever go
Mm-mm.
there?
Mm-mm.
Okay, it is about the size of this. It's about the size of this. It is tiny,
Tiny.
tiny, and they crank out so much great food. But the main reason, like, if I'm taking a guest there, I'm gonna encourage them to order the burger because it
Okay.
is
I
one
was
of
gonna ask
Birmingham's
about the burger. Yeah.
it's one of Birmingham's best. I always struggle because they always have a fish special.
Yeah.
And it's one of the places where you can get really great fish in town. That and Ocean and, even Fish Market brings in fresh fish every couple of days. So there's so many good places to get fish. But I like going there because they do that like a trout almondine sort of a thing. They
Okay.
and with the brown butter and I think it's a Brabant potato and the haricot vert green beans. And it's a Birmingham tradition, essentially. But the other thing, I'm gonna eat dessert first kind of person, and their
Okay.
desserts, because of Miss Dahl, Miss
Uh-huh.
Dahl, ran that pastry department for a long, long time, and they still use a lot of her recipes, the coconut cake and the lemon tart and a few other things. I mean, those desserts, come on. You walk in the door and they're on a cart right in front of you,
Yeah.
and you can kinda see, and I'm like, "Come on." I mean, I don't eat dessert first, but I would want to.
Yeah.
But I definitely make my dining decisions about what I'm having for dessert, no doubt.
For sure. For
Yeah,
sure.
I look at that and I say, "Okay, they have a pear tart. Are you kidding me? Yes, we're having that." And they use so many local farmers and local providers for things. And so many of our restaurants do.
Yeah.
And not just the food, but like Tina Payne at Earthborn Pottery, who makes the beautiful dishes, and she
Wow.
provides those to a lot of restaurants.
Wow.
Hot and Hot Fish Club was the very first one the first one she started with,
That's
and she's
cool.
gone from there to providing dishes and plating for chefs all around the world.
Wow.
And she's based in Leeds.
Wow.
Yeah, so
I appreciate the also like the quality of local produce that you're gonna get in Alabama is, you're getting great
yes.
stuff. So that really
Yes.
helps.
And the nice thing is like Chef Stitt, for example, will meet with his farmers, and that he has his own farm now too, Paradise Farm.
That's cool.
And I think a lot of the eggs come for the baked goods and everything come from the farm. And I don't know what else does, but I know they grow other things now too. Used to, it would just be eggs, but now they grow other things. But Chef Stitt will meet with his farmers and they'll discuss what the menu or the items will be. And a lot of times they'll grow things specific for that menu. For
Wow.
that season, like if they know they're going to need certain carrot or if they're going to need like a purple radish or
Wow, that's
whatever. I mean,
incredible.
sometimes they do that. Yeah, not all the time, but sometimes, yeah, he'll say, I have an idea for this. I want to add it to the menu. And they'll say, well, we could do XYZ thing. So and then of course we have Pepper Place, which is full of wonderful farmers
Absolutely.
and makers and all people from all over the state come to bring their things to sell at Pepper Place. So we're really fortunate. We got a lot of great food.
Do you have a favorite, like, just classic Southern dish that you like that's your go-to?
To make?
To make, yeah.
To make? Southern. Okay. Gosh. Well, I mean, I don't really call it that Southern, I guess, but
Yeah?
I like to make, especially this time of year when it's a little bit chilly, I like to make a pot roast,
Mm,
and then use the leftovers to make a beef stew. But I
yeah,
will typically serve my beef stew, make it very thick, and serve it over like a really cheesy McEwen and Sons grits, another great Alabama
that
maker.
sounds good.
He's my neighbor. So yeah, he doesn't look they're not too far from me. But yeah, I think McEwen and Sons makes some of the best grits.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I
I
think
like
that
the
counts. I think you put grits in anything, it's automatically Southern.
Yeah, I do. Every year, I have a friend who's got a hunting camp over in the Mississippi Delta. And so I'll go over there and we'll do a couple of dinners, breakfast, lunch, dinner kind of
Yeah,
thing for the guys. And they always ask me to make that pot roast slash beef stew with the grits. That's
that
a
sounds
favorite.
good. That
Yeah.
sounds good.
I know it's not real Southern, but I mean, it is to me.
It feels look, maybe I'm just completely wrong. I've always felt pot roast to be kinda Southern.
Well, I think it's can be pretty Yankee too, but
Ah,
I think it mattered. Like, I serve mine with cornbread, so I think that
there you
makes it
go.
pretty
Check
Southern.
it off, yeah. Um, what, talking about Yankees and people from outside of the South, I wanna hear a little bit, if you would, tell us, like, a little bit about your experience on Food Network Star and what that
Sure.
was like.
You sign this multi-million-dollar, NDA, and you're not
Yeah.
gonna talk about things that happen, but I think we've expired that. I think it's expired. But if they want the couple $1,000,000, they're gonna have to come get it. So I'll tell you what I can tell you. Charlie. So when I auditioned for that, it was, really kind of another one of those God sent moments. And I think you just have to be open to hearing when God talks to you. You have to be open to it. But
Yeah.
anyway, a friend of mine called and said, "Hey, there's this guy in Birmingham and he's got a new show on Food Network." And so I had been getting these messages from Guy Fieri for a while. And every time I would see him at an event, at a big food event or something, he would say, "You need to try out for Food Network Star." And I would say, "Guy, I know you did it, but I don't cook like that. Like, I'll wander around the kitchen, I'll be in the pantry for 20 minutes and forget why I went
Sure,
in there." I'm like,
sure.
"I don't cook like that." And he said, "It doesn't matter." He said, "Marty, it doesn't matter. You have a personality that they are looking for and you can tell a story. I want you to do it. I really want you to do it." But I never did. And so anyway, when my friend called and said, "Hey, you need to look this thing up and see what this guy's doing," I went to look it up and I didn't find anything about that show that was being taped here in Birmingham. But what I did find was this thing that popped up. It said, "Last day for auditions, Food Network Star." And you have to keep in mind, Guy had been kind of nagging me for a couple years. So it popped up and I thought, "Oh, I'm not interested in that." But I thought, well, let's just see. Let's just see where it
Yeah.
is. So I clicked on it and it said there was, dates for different places, and the last one was the next day in Chicago.
Hey.
And I'm in Shelby County. So I thought, well, all right then, God, if this is what we're doing, let me
Yeah,
just see if I can find a flight. So
yeah.
I went on my Delta app and tried, and I couldn't get there because you got to go to Atlanta, so it kind of
Always, always.
prohibit. And then so I looked at Southwest and a couple things, and I really couldn't get there in time. You had to be there by 2,
'Kay.
and there was pretty much no way I could get there and be assured I would get there by 2. So I thought, well, and then I thought, Marty, it's Chicago. I mean, I've driven that. I lived there for over, no, 12, 15 years, something like that.
Wow. Okay.
I drove that drive a million times. So I thought, okay, well, it was midnight. I got in the car and I drove.
No way.
I did. And I got there about 1 o'clock
My
and went
goodness.
to the hotel where they were having I didn't have the paperwork. I didn't have
Do you have any
anything.
sleep?
No, no,
This
no,
is in
no. I mean, sleep back then, sleep was, like now I was asleep. If you stop talking for a minute, I'll fall asleep. But back then, I didn't really need that much sleep.
okay.
But anyway, so I got in the door just like under the deadline, but I didn't have any of the paperwork or anything. And so I walk in, I'm like, I'm gonna have to fill out this paperwork. And they're like, "Where what?" I'm like, "I just drove up here from Alabama." And they're like, "Huh?" I'm like, "Yeah." I mean, it was the last audition.
Yeah.
Oh, I drove. I just got here. but I'll fill out the paperwork. And they're like, just come back tomorrow for a callback. I didn't know there was a callback, I
Yeah,
had no
yeah.
idea. So I had booked a room in the hotel where they were having the audition. They're like, and when you come, bring a dish that represents your point of view for cooking. And I
Okay.
thought, well, how? I said, I'm staying in the hotel. I don't have a
Yeah,
kitchen.
yeah.
And they're like, well, you got your first challenge. And it never dawned on me to make something you didn't have to cook.
Yeah.
No, it never dawned on me to throw something together that I didn't have to cook. And I started thinking, well, what could I make? What could I make? And my mind went back to that shrimp boil for some reason. I'm like, well, shrimp
Yeah.
boil's a party. My whole thing was parties entertaining, easy, affordable parties entertaining. So I'm like, I'll just make a shrimp boil. And then there'll be that funny story about the hairless shrimp that I told you a
Sure.
minute ago. And
Sure.
so, because it was in Chicago, right? So I started calling everybody I knew. Nobody was home.
Oh,
Charlie, not one person of all the people I knew were home except one friend, and they were renovating their kitchen, so I couldn't use their
of
kitchen.
course. Of
I
course.
know, yeah, of all things. So I was thinking to myself, okay, well, I had done a lot of food events, and sometimes we do have to, like, depending on what we're making, sometimes
Okay.
I will prep in my hotel room. So I'm like, I'm just going to go to the store, I'm going to get a burner, and I'll just make it in my hotel room. And
Sure.
then for some reason, my mind said, I sure hope you don't burn down that hotel. And then it dawned on me, oh my gosh, the fire station is 2 blocks that way. And I thought, I wonder if they'd let me use their kitchen.
No way.
So I told the cab driver, take me over here to the fire station over in the Gold Coast. I mean, I used to live a block from it. And
Okay.
I see the man sitting out front, standing out front with a white shirt on. That's always the lead guy, right? The head guy. I knew it was like a lieutenant or captain or something. So I was like, I'm going to put on my best Southern accent and I'm going to go out there and I'm going to get that kitchen. So I jump out of the cab and I ran over to him. I'm like, excuse me, sir. I'm so sorry. I'm a damsel in distress from Alabama. I'm going to do me a cooking show tomorrow and they want me to make some food, but I don't have a kitchen. I'm staying in a hotel. Can you help me? He goes, sure, little lady, we'll help you. And he goes, you can
This
use
is
our
awesome.
kitchen. I know. Charlie, things happen to me, and I just
This is
can't even.
unbelievable.
It
Yeah.
really is. I just have to put it in the hands of God because I know I didn't have anything to do with it. And so the man said, sure, you can come in here and use our kitchen. No problem. So I said, well, I've got to go to the store and get everything. So what does he do? He sends one of the guys with me, takes me to go to the store and get all the stuff when we
Yeah.
come back. And because I'm a freak and I can't just let's just get any shrimp. I'm like, I got to find the one place in Chicagoland that sells Gulf shrimp. I
You
mean, I
have to,
can't
well,
just,
yeah.
I mean, I'm not going to use some crappy imported shrimp.
Uh-huh.
And so I made that poor man drive me around to like 4 places, but I finally called one of the distributors down in Bilobatry and I said, Ernie, can you tell me where
my
I can get
gosh.
your shrimp up here? And he told me where to go and I went and got it.
Oh, that's
I
awesome.
know, because I just couldn't let it go. I just couldn't just oh, it doesn't matter. And little did I know they weren't going to eat it. I mean, but anyway, so we went back to the firehouse. I made the thing.
Sure.
And then I walked the 2 blocks with the pot.
They have good equipment there at the firehouse?
Yeah. I mean,
Okay.
they had a giant kitchen. They serve, 3 meals a day in those kitchens.
yeah.
So this is what the guy said. They goes, here's the thing, Marty. He said, you can come here and use our kitchen. And I know you've got to run to your audition, but when you're done, we want you to come back and clean all this up. And I'm like,
Okay.
oh, okay. And so I had made extra for them.
Yeah.
So they also had a shrimp boil. And then I did my audition. And when I came back, they had cleaned that whole kitchen up. But they had made me a Southern dinner, what they thought was a Southern dinner. So they made me fried catfish, coleslaw, and hush puppies, and sweet tea. And I have to say the sweet tea was all right.
All right.
It was good. It was fine. And then
It's just
afterwards,
okay.
they're like, we got to go on a call. Why don't you come with us? So they put a helmet and a coat on me and took me around Chicago in a fire truck. I went to several calls and I just rode around all night with them in their fire truck.
That's incredible.
I know.
That's incredible.
And so I never went back to thank them for that, and I always regretted it. But that was really a huge part of how I got that
Wow.
audition.
Wow.
But on the show itself, I went to audition. They after I got accepted to be in the cast, then the year I did it, there were teams, and it was the only year they had this scenario where there were
Okay.
teams. And we didn't know about the teams thing. So they flew me to New York, and they said that there was a bunch of people, like 100 people standing in the room, and they're like, "Well, you're going to meet one of the mentors, and they're going to tell you why you're here." So about that moment, Bobby Flay walked in, and he said, "Listen, this year is going to be different. I'm going to pick 5 people for my team. Giada's going to do the same, and Alton Brown's going to do the same. So you're here today to audition for me, and I'm going to pick 5 of you to be on my team. The
My
first person
goodness.
I want to see is Martie Duncan." And you should have said, everybody in that room was like, because they had already picked me out as the weak link, right? Because they're
Okay.
all chefs in their chef coats, standing around being all
Sure.
sheppy and bad, like. And one of the girls is now one of my very dear friends, Michelle Regus's, but she said, "Who the heck is this girl from Alabama? She's not a chef." I heard her say it, and I glared at her like, "So what?
Huh?
Neither is Ina Garden. Okay, get over yourself." But anyway, so he calls me in this room, and I go in the room, and I'm the very first one. I don't have any point of reference. I've never done food TV. I've never auditioned for
Yeah.
anything. I,
Never worked in
have
a kitchen.
never worked in a commercial,
Yeah.
no, I didn't know what to expect. So I go in the room and it's dark. It's like some kind of, I don't know, CIA investigation you see in the movie. There's like
Uh-huh.
one little table, like and a cooktop, and then a bright light shining right
Yeah.
down on you.
Yeah.
You can't see anything behind it. There are people back
That's
there, but you
intimidating.
have
Yeah.
no earthly idea what those people, who they are or what
Yeah.
they're doing. So anyway, I walk in the room and I'm like, "What is happening?" He goes, "Okay, you ready, chef?" And I'm like, "Okay, yeah, all right then." And he says, "Well, okay, make me an egg." And he threw an egg to me. Luckily, I caught and cradled the egg, didn't
Oh
break.
my
And he
gosh.
goes, "Make me an egg." And I'm sitting here thinking, I have no idea how to make one egg. Like, I make food
Yeah.
for parties. And I just sort of stared at him, and he goes, "What's wrong?" I'm like, "The only thing I can think of is some sort of a deviled egg." I said, "But I know how to make a lot of food for a party. I can't think of one thing." He goes, "You can't make me an egg." I said, "Well, I don't really eat them." So I do now, but back then I didn't. Um, so he said, "Well, you better think of something." And so I had just been to England for a party. And at the end of the night, they served what they call egg on toast. And I thought, I'll just make that, but put a
Give it a shot.
Southern spin on it. But
Yeah.
it had nothing to do with my point of view, but I had it at a party. So I was thinking that kind of makes it a party thing, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So I just I cut a piece of sourdough. I took some bacon. I cut it into little lardons. I rendered the fat out of the bacon. Got the little the little bacon pieces and put them to the side. And
Okay.
then took a lot of that fat out. But I took the bread and I fried it in that bacon fat. And then I made a really soft scrambled egg. And I just put all the spices and the things that I know Bobby would always say that he liked, different kinds of things that I
Nice.
remember hearing him say he liked, and did some chives and kind of tried to chefy it up a little bit. And so he got it basically a piece of fried bread,
Yeah.
fried in bacon fat with a soft scrambled egg with a little bit of cheese in it, and a little bit of chive and some spices, and that I'm like, here's a whatever I don't remember. I made up some story to go with it,
Yeah.
and so when he came back out to sort of tell who the next person was gonna be or whatever,
Mm-hmm.
he he said something that I knew was he was saying it to me. He said, "You know, my team is gonna be chefs that I teach to tell a story, to speak to the camera.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want people who are not. I need people who are proficient and really trained and good chefs, and I can teach them how to communicate."
Interesting.
Okay, fast forward 4 or 5 months down the road when this thing all ended, I, was doing a big event down in, Houston with Bobby. I was the, B-list talent, Bobby was the headliner, and I opened up for him, sort of like the comedians, have a
Yeah.
warm-up act, so I was the
Sure.
warm-up act for Bobby. He came out on stage and he said, "You know what? I wanna say something." He said, "My strategy was to find the best cooks I could find and teach them how to communicate." He goes, "I
Yeah.
was wrong. I was wrong. This girl, she can tell you everything you need to know, and she's a good enough cook that she can explain it to the home cook so much better."
Yeah.
So that was a great pat on the back for me. But
Yeah, big time.
yeah, and now I judge occasionally on Beat Bobby Flay, and he's ended up being a really great friend and a supporter. He's a nice guy,
That's
great
great.
guy. A lot of people don't think so, but he is.
Great show. Great show. Well, that is incredible, Marty. We're kind of running on a lot of time, and I cannot thank you enough for jumping on. I've loved to hear all your stories and the places I need to eat and all that stuff. So thank you so much for jumping on.
So, Charlie, we're getting into the holiday season, and I'm going
Yeah.
to be on the road again.
Okay.
I have reprinted all my books, and they are bound all the same, so they look really pretty together. I got one right here. Hang on.
Okay.
So they're all. Hang on, let me get some stuff out of the way here. But they're all bound, and the spines and everything, I designed them so they would look really pretty together in a set.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I'm going out on the road. I'm going to every little place I can find, and some big ones too. And we'll be doing book signings all across the state through November and December.
Incredible.
So maybe we'll meet up somewhere.
Absolutely. Yeah. If you're listening, go to y'all need to find one of those events and go see Marty and check
Yeah.
out all the book signings.
Yeah, everything's on my website, martieduncan.com. And
Fantastic.
yeah, and there's a
Fantastic.
little tab for books. So, but hey, let's go to lunch. Chez Fonfon.
I'm there. I'm there.
My treat. My
Okay.
treat.
All
Okay.
right.
All right.
Twist my
Just
arm.
you text
You'll
me and
give
let
me
me know.
special treatment if we go, I'm sure.
No, they won't. Everybody gets special treatment at Chez Fonfon.
Incredible.
So, yeah.
Marty, I got one more question before we go.
Okay.
I like to ask people, I'm gonna put you on the spot. If you were in my shoes, if you were the host of a show called Southern Fried and you were interviewing people from the South, who would be your call to get on the show?
Well, okay. So you want somebody fun or somebody who's informative?
Anybody who loves the South. You can give me both if you want to.
I will tell you that when I did the 60 episodes of the Homemade podcast that I did during the pandemic, one of my favorite guests and can you believe that podcast still is in the top ranking and we haven't even produced any in years?
Wow.
But anyway,
maybe you need to pick it back up.
Yeah, people tell me that all the time, and I would love to. I truly would. I might do it. Who knows?
We're throwing it around.
Yeah, it's possible. Start a broadcast network, and I'll jump in with you.
Okay.
All right. So anyway, Artie Sequeira. Okay. Do you know who she is? The
Not
Spice
familiar.
Queen? Okay. She won Food Network Star maybe the year before I did it, but she is of Indian heritage.
Okay.
And so they call her the Spice Queen, and you see her on Food Network a lot. She does a lot of the competition shows, but she was one of our favorite episodes. She was raised in Dubai, lived, I think, in Atlanta and California before moving to North Carolina. I think she lives in North Carolina.
Okay.
But I think she would be so informative if you want somebody who's really listen to that podcast of mine with her.
Okay.
And then I think she'd be really informative, and I can make the connection for you.
Thank
but
you,
I'm trying to think of somebody who would be super fun, and
it'll be hard for them to beat your bar. You've set fun pretty high, so.
No. Anyway, yeah, listen, I used to say to people when they would ask me questions about, can you do whatever? And I'm like, they don't call me Marty with the party for nothing, man. Come on. I didn't. And when I met Guy, he said, you made that up. I said, no, I did. I mean, I am Marty and I like to throw parties. So, okay.
Yeah.
I mean, but anyway, okay. So who would be fun and really Southern? Well, I don't know if you could get John T. Edge, but that's who I would probably try to get.
Look, he is on my short list. If I ever could get him on, then wouldn't that be incredible? I
would think he would be one of the best people to try to get.
Yeah.
And I mean, Chef Stitt is very reserved, but boy, is he a wealth of knowledge about Southern food in particular.
Awesome.
He grew up here in Alabama in Coleman, so he's a local.
Love it.
I don't know. I'm going to shoot you a few more. But
do it.
Yeah, I think you would enjoy Artie, and she's very, very interesting and knows a lot about how to bring life to your food through seasoning. And I think, a lot of us Southerners, we have 3 go-to things: salt, pepper, and cayenne. And that's about it. A lot of people don't do anything else. I mean, I think she really helped me bring some more pizzazz and more flavor to my cooking. So maybe she'd be a good one. And she's Southern now, kind of.
No, yeah, she's in the family. She's in the
She has a
family.
British accent, and she is from
Okay.
Dubai, and she's Indian, but
Love
she's
it.
also Southern.
Love it.
Okay.
Well, Marty, thank you so much for jumping on. I've had a blast talking to you, and not just like talking Food Network, but getting to live like um, a little like Birmingham history and talking all the restaurants. So it's been a lot of fun.
Listen, we've always had great restaurants here and great food here in Birmingham because of our Greek roots and our Greek
Yeah,
heritage, and listen, a lot of those places are still here. If you get a chance, get out and visit those before they're not here anymore.
absolutely. I love all my friends who have, because I grew up here, so I have so many friends that have moved here now because Birmingham's really doing well.
Yes.
And we'll go to a barbecue restaurant or a meat and three, and it's always, hey, why do they have a Greek salad? Or why? One of my favorite meat and threes, Johnny's, in Homewood,
Well, of
they'll say,
course.
why do you get the Greek meatballs every time? I'm like, you gotta have them. Like, you've got to
Yeah.
know these places. I get the
Hey,
Greek chicken special at Dimitri's. That's a barbecue restaurant, and that's what I'm doing.
Tim gave me that Greek meatball recipe for this book. It's in there, but I'll just tell you right now, it's complicated. It takes like 24 hours. Just go to the restaurant.
It's
He's a
okay.
character. I'm going to tell you right now, he's a character. See if you can get him on. He's from Mississippi, but, Alabama heart. And Lord knows he's got stories, and he is so funny
Yeah,
and fun and interesting. He calls it Greek and three instead of a meat and three. And he's just
good.
so funny. So anyway, try to get him too.
I grew up in Birmingham, but I went to school in Mississippi State. The one thing that is made very clear when you walk into Johnny's is they're Ole Miss people, and
They
so
are.
that's a big thing for me.
Well, get over it.
I have
Just
to.
get
I have
over
to.
it.
I have to.
Yeah, I mean, we can't help you. I'm sorry.
It is what it is, right?
It is what it is.
It is what.
All right. Well, thank you, Charlie. I appreciate it. Good luck with your podcast. You're a really great host, and I think this is going to be really great for you. And let me know if you ever want to do something again.
Absolutely. Thank you for
All right.
hopping on, Marty.
Sure. Thank you, Charlie.
And that's a wrap on this episode of Southern Fried. Really hope you guys enjoyed this one. It's one of our longest episodes we've ever done, but it was so fun. Marty was such a blast to get to talk to during the show, before and after too. She was just incredible to have a conversation with, and so I really enjoyed recording this episode of Southern Fried. I can't say enough nice things about Marty and her willingness and graciousness to come on the show. If you guys liked this episode, do me a favor, throw it on your Instagram story, okay? Share it, tell people about it. I just would love for this story to spread and all of the Southern Fried conversations to continue to be heard and be known by people, because there's some great interviews and some great stories that we've already, in this short journey, gotten to experience. I'm really excited about the interviews to come, the people that we have lined up to come on the show. I'm having so much fun doing this, and I hope you guys are having just as much fun listening and hearing from different people. I really appreciate it, and y'all come on back.